You prepared for that conversation for 3 days. It was not something trivial. You chose every word. You even chose the timing. Then you said it, clearly, calmly, without blame. She listened, she nodded, she said, "I understand." 4 days later, she asked again. The exact same thing, in the voice of someone hearing it for the first time in her life. And in that exact moment, something inside your chest dropped. Not anger, a quieter question. Do I actually exist in this person's mind? If you have ever stood in that place, hear this first. What you just experienced is not necessarily indifference. It has a name in science. It has been measured with memory curves, skin conductance, and cameras recording 180 real couples in a laboratory, with behavior coded every 30 seconds. Today, I am not giving you comfort. I am giving you the mechanism. Because once you understand the mechanism, you stop having to guess, and you begin taking back the first thing this kind of relationship often takes from you: your self-respect. When you have to explain yourself a second time, men usually fall into one of 3 interpretations. She does not care enough. That one makes you silently keep score. She is testing me. That one turns you into someone taking an exam. And the person taking the exam is never an equal. Maybe I did not explain it clearly enough. That sounds humble. It is actually the most dangerous trap of all, because it leads directly to you talking more, talking longer, becoming more earnest. And I am going to show you why that is exactly what can make things worse. All 3 explanations share the same mistake. They assume there is an intention behind the behavior, that she decided not to remember. But 40 years of adult attachment research points in another direction. Attachment avoidance is not simply a choice. It is an automatic emotion regulation strategy, what Mario Mikulincer and Philip Shaver call deactivating strategies. When a child repeatedly expresses emotional needs and repeatedly gets ignored or punished for them, the brain reaches a very logical conclusion. Needing other people is dangerous. Better not to need. That child grows up. She becomes independent, capable, admirable. And the old system keeps running in the background, without permission, without warning. It is not aimed at you. It was programmed long before you arrived. In 2000, 3 researchers, Chris Fraley, Joseph Garner, and Philip Shaver, published a study in the Journal of Personality and Social Psychology, one of the most rigorous journals in the field. Researchers had long known that people higher in attachment avoidance remember emotional experiences less well. But why? There were 2 possibilities. 1. They encode the experience fully, then bury it. The memory is still there, but locked away. 2. They never encode it fully in the first place. To distinguish between the 2, the researchers had participants listen to an interview about attachment-related themes. Then they asked them to recall the content, some immediately, others after different delays. From that, they built forgetting curves for each group. If the memory had been fully encoded and only later suppressed, the avoidant group's forgetting curve should have been steeper. The result? The 2 curves were almost parallel. Avoidant participants forgot at essentially the same rate as non-avoidant participants. The difference was at the starting point. From the very first measurement, they had less information available to remember. The researchers even offered money for accurate recall to rule out the possibility that participants were simply not trying hard enough. The result did not change. Slow down here. The defense was not primarily in storage. It was at the entrance. Imagine a security camera system. You keep assuming everything was recorded, and she simply has not opened the file yet. So you think, I need to remind her. I need to say it louder. But the real issue is that there is a blind spot right in front of the lens. And that blind spot has a very specific shape. It appears exactly where conversations touch attachment, needs, and how much the two of you belong in each other's lives. That is why she may remember exactly what shirt you were wearing that day. She remembers the funny story you told about work. But the part where you said, "I need to know where I stand in your life," that part is blurry. Not because she consciously deleted it. It may never have been encoded sharply in the first place. Jane Richards and James Gross, at Stanford University, conducted a series of experiments on what they called the cognitive cost of keeping a calm face. The design was simple. Participants watched emotionally intense material. Half were told, "Try not to show any emotion on your face." The other half were told, "React naturally." Then their memory was tested. The group instructed to suppress their expression remembered significantly less. And here is the part that matters most for you. In a later study, they brought the experiment into the exact kind of setting you are living through. Couples discussing a real conflict in their relationship. The result repeated. People who suppressed emotional expression during the discussion remembered less about the discussion itself. Why? Because suppressing expression is not free. To keep the face calm, the brain must constantly monitor itself. What is my face doing? Is my voice shaking? That self-monitoring loop occupies working memory, the exact memory system that should be processing what you are saying. Butler and colleagues in 2003 also found that people suppressing expression became more distracted during the conversation. Now put those two pieces together. A person higher in attachment avoidance may suppress expression as a survival habit, automatically, especially when a conversation touches closeness. Which means, the calm face that makes you think the conversation is going well may be part of what is interfering with her ability to encode the conversation. That is one of the cruelest paradoxes of loving someone avoidant. The more she appears to be taking it well, the less she may actually be processing. Calmness is not always evidence of understanding. Sometimes it is evidence that the defense system is running at full capacity. If you are still wondering whether maybe she truly feels nothing important, there is one kind of evidence that is very difficult to fake: the autonomic nervous system. Attachment research uses a tool called the adult attachment interview. People are asked about childhood, separation, rejection, and loss. While they speak, researchers can measure skin conductance, a marker of sympathetic nervous system activity. You do not control it consciously. It leaks out before you can think. Glenn Roisman's team in 2004 found that people using deactivating strategies, people who talked about childhood in a neat, detached tone, saying things like, "It was fine," showed clearly elevated skin conductance exactly during questions about rejection and separation. That result echoed earlier findings by Dozier and Kobach in 1992. Still face. Steady voice. Underneath, the alarm is going off. And here is the detail you need to hear carefully. In 2006, Lisa Diamond and colleagues measured this response in 148 adults. They found that attachment avoidance, not attachment anxiety, was associated with heightened physiological reactivity across the tasks, and the response increased over time. The effect was especially pronounced among women. Slow down. So the next time you say something important, and she responds with a shrug and, "I am fine," understand that you are looking at the surface of the water, not the current underneath. If something in this video has finally put a name to a feeling you have been carrying for months, subscribe. Not because of the number, because every subscription helps this video reach another man sitting in his car at 11 at night, wondering what he did wrong. He deserves to have the mechanism in his hands too. Now I want to tell you something almost no channel says. In 2011, Marco Del Giudice published the first meta-analysis of sex differences in romantic attachment. 113 research samples, involving more than 66,000 people. The result? On average, men scored higher on attachment avoidance, while women scored higher on attachment anxiety. That may sound like just a statistic, but the consequence is very real. Because avoidance among women is statistically less common, it deviates from the cultural script most of us were raised to believe. That women are the emotional caretakers in relationships. So when a man withdraws, society says, "Men are like that. He needs space." That is an explanation about mechanism. But when a woman withdraws, society says, "She is cold. She is heartless. She is playing games." That becomes a moral judgment. And here is the part that weighs on me most. She may judge herself in exactly the same way. A lot of avoidant women do not think, "I am protecting myself." They think, "Something is wrong with me." They notice that they cannot say, "I need you," even when the sentence exists clearly in their mind, and they conclude that they are a bad person. That does not erase your pain, but it changes the nature of the story. You are not necessarily dealing with someone who despises you. You may be dealing with someone who does not believe that needing another person is safe, even when that person is you. Now we have to talk about the part you can control. Andrew Christensen and Christopher Heavey gave it a name in the early 1990s. The demand-withdraw pattern. One person applies pressure through requests, complaints, or simply wanting to talk until it is resolved. The other responds with silence, defensiveness, or physically leaving. In 2014, Paul Schrott and colleagues synthesized 74 studies on this pattern. The results were consistent. It predicted relationship dissatisfaction and breakdown. It predicted individual anxiety and depression. And it predicted people becoming increasingly less likely to do what the other person was asking them to do. In the classic data, the pattern was often, wife demands, husband withdraws. When you love an avoidant woman, the roles may reverse. And almost no one prepares you for that. You become the one talking more, the one repeating yourself, the one sending long messages at midnight. You do it because you care. But look through the lens of her nervous system. Every time you explain again, louder, longer, more emotionally, she may register it as an escalating threat. The defense does not soften. It tightens. She withdraws farther. You see her withdrawing farther, and conclude that you still have not explained it clearly enough. The loop closes, and both people are trying their hardest. This is why keep talking until she understands so often fails. Not because you are bad at explaining, because volume is the wrong variable. In 2013, Nicola Overall, Jeffrey Simpson, and Helena Struthers published a study that I think every man in your situation should know. They video recorded 180 couples during 2 discussions in which one partner wanted the other to change something. Then the couples watched the recordings and reported their anger in 30-second intervals. At the same time, observers rated the target partner's withdrawal and the requesting partner's level of what the researchers called softening. The first part was exactly what we would expect. Avoidant partners showed more anger and more withdrawal, and that made the discussions less successful. But the second part is remarkable. When the researchers analyzed the conversation 30 seconds at a time, they found that during the exact intervals when the other partner softened more, the avoidant person's anger and withdrawal decreased immediately. Not after a few weeks. Not after therapy. In real time. Inside the same conversation. And couples who used more softening were more successful in creating actual change. Softening was defined by exactly 2 ingredients: being sensitive to the other person's need for autonomy and communicating that the other person was valued. Notice something crucial. The people using softening did not abandon their request. They changed how they delivered it. Softening is not making yourself smaller. It is a technique, not surrender. Principle 1. Soften the delivery, not the content. Do not turn. I need to know where this relationship is going. Into, never mind, it is fine. Instead, try. I know you need space, and I am not trying to take that away from you. I also need an answer. Not today, but I do need one. Same request. 2 softening ingredients added. Principle 2. Say it once, then use intentional silence. This is the hardest part. After you say it, do not fill the gap. Do not restate it with different words. Do not send 3 more messages to make sure she understands. That silence is not failure. It is space for her nervous system to come down enough to begin processing. You cannot force information through a closed door by knocking harder. Principle 3. Instrumental support first, emotional reassurance second. This is one of the most counterintuitive findings. Simpson and colleagues in 2007 examined who actually calmed down during moments of distress. The result: avoidant people tended to calm more clearly when they received instrumental support, specific advice, practical solutions, useful action. They did not necessarily calm in the same way when they received pure emotional reassurance, because that kind of reassurance can signal that they are being treated like someone who needs rescuing. So, I am here, just cry, let it all out, may backfire, while, let me call that place for you, may go straight in. Principle 4. Create positive dependence in small doses. In 2018, Jimena Arriaga and colleagues proposed the Attachment Security Enhancement Model. The central idea is that avoidance tends to decrease most in situations that create positive dependence. Moments when she relies on you a little and nothing bad happens. No debt. No later reminder that she needed you. No emotional invoice. This is long-term work, built brick by brick. Principle 5. Measure repeated behavior, not words. Avoidant people often act much better than they verbalize. She may not be able to say, "I miss you," but she may rearrange her whole week to be with you. Learn to read that language. But read the long-term trend. One kind gesture is not data. A repeated pattern over 3 months is. Now comes the part that, if I leave it out, makes the entire video dangerous. Everything I have explained is meant to explain behavior. None of it excuses behavior. Attachment avoidance can explain why she struggles to express needs. It does not justify disappearing for days without a word. It does not justify contempt. It does not justify keeping you suspended indefinitely. And here is a difficult truth. Not every distance is avoidance.